think many of you know I've been very excited about the new Pythium material, Serata, which has performed, I think we've had it for 2 or 3 years and has performed very, very well in our trials.
So Serata is a new fungicide that FMC's releasing, and the active ingredient is picarbutyrazox, which is a new mode of action. So that's a really exciting thing to see in turf grass. And generally speaking, we don't see a lot of new modes of action that come down the pipeline for turf use. Typically what we see is something that gets kind of handed down from other cropping systems. And so with this new mode of action in turf, it's exciting to see, because with Pythium we really only have a couple of modes of action to start with. And so an additional mode of action gives us the ability to rotate modes of action so that we can reduce our resistance risk. But it also wouldn't be all that exciting if it didn't provide phenomenal control that's comparable to the current industry standard, which would be Segway fungicide. But now with Serata coming on board, a new mode of action for Pythium control, that's going to be, a game changer for golf course superintendents, being able to control Pythium root rot and Pythium diseases with multiple products over the entire season. We've always been hamstrung with the ability to control Pythium diseases, and now with a new mode of action that you guys have with Serata, it's going to be really exciting.
First off, I think a lot of superintendents are going to be very excited about the launch of picarbutyrazox or Serata. This is going to be very welcome to the turf industry. There's not a lot of very good, effective Pythium root rot control products, and I think that superintendents are going to be very excited once they start seeing this product and they see how effective it can be. One of the most consistent things that I hear from superintendents is, I'm putting out my Segway applications or my Cyazofamid applications, but I can only make 3 of those per year at the high rate. I need something more. I need something that's going to help get me through. And nothing against some of the other products that are out there on the market for Pythium root rot control, but Cyazofamid has consistently been one of those, or has been the leading product for golf course superintendents to use. I think that the incorporation of picarbutyrazox or Serata is going to be a game changer for the golf course superintendent, because it brings something that is as effective, and in some cases more effective, than Cyazofamid, based on what we've seen in our studies.
So with Pythium root rot, this is a disease I've worked on for a long time. Part of the issue that we wanted to figure out was essentially, when do the pathogenic species infect? And why do I say that is, this is really a complex. There are multiple species that are involved. It's not like dollar spot where you have one pathogen, or anthracnose where there's one pathogen. There's, much like take-all root rot, there's multiple pathogens involved.
So Pythium root rot is obviously a very challenging disease for a lot of golf course superintendents. It's probably one of those diseases that keeps them up at night more than anything else, because it can be so destructive. In this particular study this past year, we actually had 120 plots where we were looking at a variety of different products. And when we do research on site, I like to bring in the golf course superintendent and play pick a plot. I have them go through and they look to see which plots, without knowing what it is, they consider to be performing the best. And this year, out of 120 plots, very consistently, the superintendent would look around and say, I like this one. Okay, that's Serata. I like this one. Okay, that's Serata. So we've done this, I did this several times throughout the summertime, and it was very clear that that is one of those products that really stood out among a lot of other things that we were looking at this year.
With Serata, the thing that I've learned the most with the work that we've done with Pythium root rot is that root rot is such an insidious disease. Where we do our trial work, we're actually doing our trial work on a putting surface that has an 8-inch root zone, no internal drainage. It's essentially a bathtub where the grass just kind of cooks all summer in its own juice. And so when we have products that control Pythium root rot, it becomes immediately obvious that they're working, because usually what we end up seeing is a nice green square or rectangle with dead turf all around it. And certainly with Serata, that's some of the things that we saw, was that it was very effective at controlling Pythium root rot over that 14-day interval.
Firmly believe that Pythium root rot is an underlooked disease throughout the U.S. In the Southeast, we know about it very, very well, but I think even as we move into the Northeast, some may not think it's a major issue, and I disagree. I think this is where implementing Serata into a program, we're going to see the health of putting greens really increase in the future. We saw it, I think, in 2019, and it was the most banner Pythium root rot year we had ever had. And this experimental had stood out above and beyond anything. So much so that we were begging him to tell us what it was because it outperformed Segway in that particular year. And it did the same in 2020. And 2021, we didn't quite have the same amount of pressure, but we still had minor Pythium root rot development in some of the Segway plots, and Serata performed very, very well. So it's one that I'm very excited about, because as a new mode of action, we now have a really nice rotational partner with Segway, and I think Pythium root diseases are going to be much more easily managed now with this new tool in the toolbox.
So having this new mode of action with picarbutyrazox, I think is going to be very, very important to the golf course superintendent as they look at rotating chemistries, as they look at trying to make sure they don't have any resistance issues in the future. We have very limited options for controlling oomycetes, such as Pythium root rot and some of the other Pythium diseases. And just having this new mode of action is going to be very important as we look at these limited options moving forward. It brings something new to the table, and it is very exciting. It will be very exciting to see actually what that mode of action is as we learn more and more about this new product over time.
It's exciting to see, because with Pythium we really only have a couple of modes of action to start with, and so an additional mode of action gives us the ability to rotate modes of action so that we can reduce our resistance risk. But it also wouldn't be all that exciting if it didn't provide phenomenal control that's comparable to the current industry standard, which would be Segway fungicide. And so having seen it side by side with Segway in trials, we've seen very comparable or better control from Serata as compared to Segway. So it's really exciting to see a product that is comparable to Segway, which gives us an additional set of applications so we can lengthen the time that superintendents are able to provide world-class Pythium control for their surfaces.
But Cyazofam has consistently been one of those, or has been the leading product for golf course superintendents to use. I think that the incorporation of picarbutyrazox or Serata is going to be a game changer for the golf course superintendent, because it brings something that is as effective, and in some cases more effective, than Cyazofam, based on what we've seen in our studies.